Okay, we're a couple minutes past the top of the hour, so I'm going to start, and anybody that comes in late can watch this online afterwards. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Dawn Gelino. I'm the Deputy Director of the NASA Exoplanet Science Institute, and today I'm going to talk to you all about how we are implementing the dual anonymous proposal review process for NASA's time on the Keck telescopes. Okay. Thank you. First of all, we appreciate you coming today and for your interest in using NASA Keck time to support your research. And we are recording this. Zoom should have told you that when you popped in. And we will be posting this video on the website in a day or so. So you can refer back to it if you need to when you're writing your proposals or for people who could not attend at this time. And because of that, I would like to hold questions until the end. I'm going to try to get through this in about 30 minutes, and then we can take questions at the end. However, if you have a clarifying question about something that I've said or something that's on a slide, then put it in the Zoom chat. And we have Ellen and Elise can either interrupt me or can answer it for you because they know just as much about this as I do. So, and also all of the information that I'm going to cover here can be found on the NextSci homepage if you click on the Keck links. So please refer there to all of the official information. So just a very quick overview. The WM Keck Observatory has two 10-meter telescopes that are located on the summit of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. They have a suite of optical and infrared instruments. They have adaptive optics capabilities on both telescopes. And these are really a valuable resource to the community. The time on these two telescopes is available mostly to partner institutions and luckily, or wholly to partner institutions. And luckily NASA is one of those partners. We get about 1/6 of the time, which amounts to 47 nights per semester. And the NASA time is available to any PI at a US institution or co-Is from all over the world. So this really, NASA's time is really community time, and we are happy that this is available, and we're happy to administer this for NASA headquarters. Our oversubscription rates are typically between 3 and 4 to 1, but of course it varies per semester and per telescope. So the instruments that are available for this upcoming 2022A proposal call are linked from our call for proposals. So take a look at those if you're interested in more information about that. But today we're going to talk about dual anonymous and how we're implementing it. So back in 2020, at NASA headquarters, the Astrophysics Division, their programs began to use this dual anonymous process to evaluate their proposals. At that time, we were told to kind of hold off on implementing it so we could see if there were any lessons learned from the space missions and larger programs that were using it in order to make this more efficient for us. We're also among the first of the ground-based programs to be using dual anonymous, and so we're we've looked at this a lot, and we'll see how it goes. But we have done a lot of research into formulating this plan, and so I do want to thank our many resources from NASA headquarters, from Space Telescope, from the other panel reviews that let us come and view, listen in on how they ran their dual anonymous proposal calls. The call for proposals for the 2022A semester was released in late July this year, and the proposals are due on September 16th through our website. This semester, in addition to dual anonymous, we are also including a call for key strategic mission support proposals. Those also must follow this dual anonymous format. If you have questions about that, let's save them to the end, because I will mostly be talking about dual anonymous. during this webinar. So the goals, there are 4 main goals of dual anonymous process. One is to focus the review on the best science instead of on the proposing team. 2 is to reduce the impact of unconscious bias on the review process. 3 is to reduce other biases such as gender, institutional biases, career levels, what have you. And 4 is hopefully to encourage new proposers who may have been worried about these biases in the past. And so, this process, and something to keep in mind during this webinar and while you're writing your proposal, is the process cannot be designed to make it impossible to figure out who might be on the proposing team. There might be only one team in the world that does, uses this type of process to reduce their data and whatnot. And so, maybe people will on the TAC will be able to figure out who this team is. As long as you're following the rules, that's still okay. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go forward. Okay, so we've always run these NASA Keck proposal reviews by emphasizing the science and the strategic nature of the proposals. It's never been about the teams per se. So we're continuing that and bumping it up a notch, of course. So over the last decade, we looked at our proposal statistics, and in terms of gender identity, and I'll show you some plots quickly, we've seen a long-term increase in the number of PIs who identify as female, and we have actually statistically equivalent success rates for PIs who identify as male and PIs who identify as female. And so that actually, we were really happy to see that. And we've been moving towards this dual anonymous for a while now. Starting in early 2018, we moved any identifying PI and COI information off of the first page of the proposals onto the second page. It's still there, but it was not the first thing that the readers saw when they were evaluating the proposals. We also eliminated all first names from our homegrown grading software called CaseBright. And then in early 2020, last year, we started collecting optional gender and career level stats. We inferred them for previous semesters, but we started asking for them. These are completely optional. The TAC never sees them. They're solely for the science affairs team to be able to report to NASA headquarters on general statistics. So they're not used in any other way. Starting last semester, we removed all names from our grading pages. Not even last names showed up. And we asked the PIs to provide a short title. So instead of the reviewers, just talking about proposal, 21, they could say, oh, the transit proposal for whatever for this exoplanet. And that actually helps the reviewers identify with the proposals, with the science of that proposal more directly and more quickly. I'll also note that NASA is the only Keck partner switching to this dual anonymous process. So I mentioned NASA is a 1/6 partner. The UC schools and Caltech are the 2 other major partners. There are a number of other smaller partners for Keck. And we are the only ones that are switching to dual anonymous. So if you have institutional access, you will need to write your proposal differently for our call than you do for your institutional calls. So please be aware of that and give yourself time to adjust. Okay, so these are the plots that I just talked about. We see the submissions by people who identify as female increasing. I believe you could see my mouse. So, back 10, 12 years ago, we started off with 80-ish% of the proposals were submitted by people who identify as male and 20-ish% by people who identify as female. And over the years, I'm happy to say we've seen an uptick. So now we're sitting at almost 60-40. And that was we were very happy to see that. Also, statistically, there is no difference between the proposal success rates between people who identify as male and green and female and red. And so we were really happy to see that as well. However, moving on to dual anonymous, full-blown dual anonymous is the right thing to do, and that's why we're doing it. So how will this work for NASA Keck time? So proposers will prepare and submit 2 documents, an anonymized science program and a non-anonymized expertise and access document. And I will talk about each of those in a moment. The overall scientific and strategic merit of each proposal, just like normal, will be assessed. But this time it's only based on the anonymized science program and not your expertise and access document. So they will see that later, but not when they're doing the evaluation of the proposals. So, but of course, validation of the qualifications, the team's track record, and especially for us, any non-NASA access, institutional access to Keck, it's a vital component of this process. And therefore, after the panel has completed its ranking, they will be able to go back and read the ENA document to for the people that we believe, or for the proposals that have the best chance of actually being assigned time, because remember, our oversubscription rates are typically 3 to 4 to 1. So those top ranked proposals, the TAC will be able to see this expertise and access document that you will provide us. They'll be able to see if you have institutional access to Keck, if you have the qualifications needed to do what you say you're going to do, and if you have a good publication track record. All of that will happen afterwards, and I will talk more about that as we go along. Okay, I think I did that. Okay, so you'll write these documents, and on the due date or before the due date of September 16th, you will submit them. So our submission, in addition to rewriting like 80 to 85% of the NASA Keck call for proposals this semester, we also added and changed some of the things on the submission website. So please don't just look at this a week before. The fact that you're here is good. It means you're thinking about this. You will have to change the way you've submitted proposals in the past. If you've submitted proposals to us in the past, we have changed things a lot. So please look at not only the call, read through the call for proposals, but also review the submission site. It's live now. You can click on it and look through it and just make sure that you are familiar with what you're going to need to, the text you're going to need to put in the boxes when you're submitting it. So you don't get to half an hour before the deadline when everybody submits their proposal and suddenly see, oh wait, this section has to be written in an anonymous way. I have to rewrite this, and and then you're stressing, and we don't want to cause people stress. So please look at this beforehand. Okay, so you are going to submit to us 3 PDF documents. One is the anonymized science program. The second is the expertise and access document. And the third is just like normal, the WMKO cover sheet. It's got all your instrument and scheduling information. It also has team information. So this will not be passed to the TAC until they see the ENA document. If you are submitting a mission support or a key strategic mission support proposal, you will also send us your 2 letters of support, one from NASA headquarters and one from the project. And those will also be seen along with the ENA document. We will send you back, as normal, we will send you back a confirmation email. That confirmation email will have 2 attachments to it. One is the proposal that, as the reviewers will see it when they are grading your proposal based on your science and strategic merit. So this is the anonymized science program and the anonymized cover sheet information. And I will talk about what's anonymized and what's not in a minute. You will also receive the full proposal. So this includes the ENA document, the non-anonymous cover sheet information, which is basically the PI and COI information and institutions, the WMKO cover sheet, and any mission support letter. So you will see two versions of your proposal. One is the one that that the TAC readers will see first, and the other is what will be revealed if you're in the top third of the proposals. So you can look at both of those, and we suggest you submit more than half an hour before the deadline, so you do have have time to look those over, and to make sure you're happy with them, because you can resubmit as many times as you like before the deadline, but not after the deadline. Okay, so this is basically putting everything I just said into graphical form. So what you are going to submit are in the black panels on the left and the right. This is the information entered into our submission site. So, you will put in, proposal title, this little short title that we're asking you to put in, the category, the mission support information, if applicable to your proposal. We'll ask you if it's multi-semester. We'll ask you if you have access to Keck. This is new. So this will basically say, yes, I have access. I have major access. Yes, I have access, but it's only like 1 or 2 COIs that might have nights, or no, I don't have access. So this is very high level, and this information is okay and crucial actually for the TAC to have. And you'll put more information into the expertise and access document explaining this if you do have access. So we'll ask you, about if you're submitting a TOO, what your typical telescope and instrument request is, the abstract, the strategic relevance section, and the COA data check. I want to underscore that these 3 last things, the abstract, the strategic relevance, and the COA check, are going into the anonymized document that the TAC will see. This means these 3 sections need to be written in an anonymous way. And I will reiterate that in a few minutes. The other information that you will be submitting, and it's all it's mixed into this web form. So, we'll let you know, but the information, so whether you have previous Keck time or not, goes into this non-anonymized document. The PI and COI information and any comments, specific comments about scheduling or anything like that you would typically tell us, that will all go into this non-anonymized document. And then again, you're submitting 3 for the non-mission support proposals. You are submitting 3 documents to us: the anonymized science program, the non-anonymized expertise and access document, and the WMKO cover sheet. If you are submitting a mission support or key strategic mission support proposal, you will also submit your mission support letters. Everything in green goes into the non-anonymized document. Everything in red goes into the anonymous document. Okay, so I talked about the science program and the ENA document. Now just to go into detail a little bit more. So science program, again, it's anonymous. We have templates. We implemented templates before. They used to be optional. Now they are required. We have a template for the science program in both Word and LaTeX, and we have a template for the ENA document, again, both in Word and LaTeX. So you must use these templates in order to write these 2 documents for your proposal. The template includes, for the science program, your science case, your instrument requests, figures and tables, your data reduction and release plan, only if you're submitting a KSMS proposal. If you're not submitting one of these proposals, larger proposals, you don't need to worry about this. Your list of references and your target lists. And their page limits are all in the call for proposals. So, and they do differ between the KSMS proposals and the regular GEO proposals. Okay, so we're still talking about the anonymized science program. Again, leave yourself sufficient time to prepare this, especially if you plan to resubmit a proposal from a previous semester, because you're going to have to go through and check it and rewrite it. So these are general guidelines. Please read the guidelines for proposers for more information and for examples. That's on the website. But just in general, don't include any author names or affiliations anywhere. This will violate the dual anonymous policy. You can you can discuss previous and related work, but in a way that does not attribute the work to your team. Similarly, don't claim ownership of your past work. Instead of, instead of saying my previous work, say, or our previous work, say, previous work. Sorry, that should be over here. Just previous work, not our previous work. When you are referencing, or when you're referencing a reference, use neutral third-person wording, and we have an example of that. And so if you need to cite exclusive access to data sets or non-public software, or unpublished data or something that's been presented but it's not citable, then you use language such as obtained in private communication or from private consultation. Okay, so you're not saying it's ours, you're saying you've communicated with yourself. Okay, so we have other examples on the website, but I just picked one out for you. So and here I would like to thank Space Telescope. We're using this with their permission because they have it on their page. So here's example text. This top block of text is from a non-anonymized proposal, and in the bottom it's reworked to be anonymized, and I've highlighted the changes, right? So here it says in Rogers et al. 2014 we, and then this just says prior work in Rogers et al. So it's taking that identifying nature out of it. Instead of saying our model from, you say the model, and instead of saying with our first epoch, you say with a first epoch. Okay, so you're gonna basically, those are the types of changes you're going to make. You don't need to completely rewrite your entire proposal. I know this can be a daunting task, but these little changes like that are going to be important. Okay, so what do we do on our end once we receive your proposal? So you've taken the time, you've written it, you've submitted it. The NEXI Science Affairs team, including Eleanor Leary and Elise Furlan, and Megan Crane and Melanie Swain, and myself, of course, we will look at each of these anonymous science program submissions, and we will check for the presence of text such as PI or COI names, institution names, use of pronouns. We'll look for other things too, but these are the big things that you really need to make sure that are not in there. If the proposal that we're looking at violates this, we're going to flag it. We are bringing it, and we'll bring it to the attention of the selecting official, who will decide on if this violation is just a little one and we can kind of let it slide, or if this is a major violation and and in which case it will be rejected. So a major violation, if you use names and pronouns rampantly throughout the proposal, if you have I know in a different proposal review, there were a few proposals that had headers at the top of the pages that said who the proposing team was. I'm sure they didn't mean for them to be there, but they didn't take them out before submitting their proposal. Those were rejected because that's a big flashing light saying, hey, this belongs to us. So those are cases where we would have to reject your proposal. We don't want to reject proposals. We really don't. So please, please read through your proposal. Maybe have someone else read through your proposal before you submit it, just to make sure that it, I've done that for a bunch of people. I'm not doing it for you all, but give it to somebody else. But I've done it for other people, just as a check to make sure, because we often miss things that we write, right? Also, we're checking conflicts before assigning reviewers. And so anybody on a proposal or who is at the same institution as a PI or a good number of COIs will not be assigned as a primary or secondary reviewer on any proposals. Okay, so this is a scary prospect, right? Hey, wait, if I slip up, my proposal might be rejected. So, we understand that this is it's a major shift in how proposals are written and how they're evaluated. And we understand that there might be occasional slips in writing these types of anonymized proposals. However, to make this fair, we do reserve the right to return without review proposals that are particularly egregious in terms of the identification of the proposing team. So we'll be as lenient as we can, but we do have to follow the rules. And so, as I mentioned before, we acknowledge that some proposed work might be so specialized that despite following the rules, the identities of the PI and maybe the team members are readily discernible. And so as long as the guidelines are followed, we will not return these without review. They will be reviewed. So don't worry about that. If you have a specialized way of doing something and everybody knows that you're the only team that does it that way, that's okay. And again, the selecting official, which in most cases is Chaz Weichman, our executive director of NEXI, will make the final decision on the severity of the violation of the guidelines. And also if the proposal will be reviewed or returned. So he's the final decision maker. All right, so we have a whole page of FAQs online. I encourage you to go and read through them. But I've highlighted a couple here that I thought maybe people would be worried about. So something that's been pointed out to a number of the other proposal reviews that have already gone through a dual anonymous process is people worrying about, okay, so even if I reference things in the third person, there will likely still be a good number, maybe an even dominant number of references to my own prior work. So it's it's conceivable that a reviewer could guess just by reading the proposal who which group this is from. And so yes, you're absolutely right. We can't avoid that. But we do still need a bibliography because without it, the reviewers won't have any means to assess any of the claims in the proposal. So, something to keep in mind is that, there might be a dominant number of references to a certain author's work, but this process still doesn't make it 100% clear who the PI of the proposal is. So, the PI could be a different or a former member of the group that's cited frequently. And so, it doesn't say this is the person. So don't worry about that too much or at all. So how should a number of people have access to Keck through their institutions? And so how should you deal with that? So you can put this in the anonymized version. You will absolutely be required to talk about this in the ENA document, in a non-anonymized way, so we know exactly what the level of access you have is. However, in the anonymized document, you can still say, the team has access to telescope time, and then give, say, this will enable, just say the reason why, say, yes, we have it, but we need the NASA time to do this. And so that's fine. And so this is word for word from the website. So you can look back at that. Okay, and I already talked about the ENA document there. Okay, so now, so that was the anonymized part of this talk. Now we're going to move to the expertise and access document. So this is non-anonymous. This is where you will tell us about your team expertise, any observational experience and things like that. The description of your team access to institutional Keck time, if you have it. Any related programs that you or your team has on other large ground-based and space-based telescopes, and progress on previous awarded Keck programs. So this is all still very important to us, and we do need the information, but it's in this document. And again, we have templates for this. Okay, and so this is to give you an idea of how the whole process works. So we're going to start from the bottom and go up. So the proposals are all submitted via our website. And then they will, they are broken up into now 5 different panels based on science area. Recently, we had to split the extragalactic panel into 2 because they were getting a lot more proposals than the other panels. So each of these panels will read your science program, the anonymized proposal, and they will do their scientific and strategic grading. As always, there are 2 separate grades for this, so make sure you address both things. And so once that's done and the ranking is done, then everyone on each of these panels, except for the panel chairs, and I'll explain why in a minute, gets to see the E&A document and any mission support letters that for the top people, you know, will probably, I said a third, but depending on the oversubscription rate, it might be more than that. So it or less than that, but it really depends. So they will see this and they will check. I'll talk about it actually in the next slide. They'll check a box that says, yes, this team is qualified, or no, it's not, to do this. And so I'll talk more about that in a minute. Then in a separate meeting, after all of these meetings, the panel meetings are finished, then the TAC chair plus the chairs of each of these panels, they get together, we merge everything together from the panels, merge the rankings of the panels together, and they go through and you know, and look at, you know, at balance and whatnot. And so after they're finished moving things around, then they get to see the non-anonymized information. And so that does not bias their discussions earlier in the day. And then anything that's unqualified, you know, that the panels deem as unqualified will go to the selection official, and, you know, we'll decide what to do with them before we get here. So, you know, this really should be a formality, but it's another check just to make sure that, yes, all of these teams are qualified to do what they say they're going to do. Then it goes up to Chaz and I to generate the final recommendation list, and then Ellen does the initial scheduling of the time, and we send it up to WMKO, who then takes our schedule, the NASA schedule, and all of the other schedules from the other participating institutions, and puts all the jigsaw puzzle pieces together. I'm very glad I do not have that job. Anyway, that's the process. So, okay, so this is a little bit more on the team qualifications. I've covered most of it already. Basically, if the team has appropriate and complete expertise to perform the work, and you know, and you've asked for enough time to do the program, and you have any facilities or equipment or other resources that you need to do the work, then your team is qualified. In rare cases, very rare, we're expecting, you may be deemed unqualified, and that's just if the E&A document demonstrates you know, several deficiencies in the necessary expertise and or resources to execute your program. And if the panel did not see it because you didn't rank high enough, your proposal did not rank high enough, then we will have them check the not assessed box. So every proposal will have this checked. The other set of boxes they will be checking is if the team has access to Keck through their host institutions or by other means. And so this is just, you know, the team doesn't have any access, they do, and they've justified it, or they do and they did not justify it. This is bad. So if you have institutional access, if anybody on your team has institutional access, we ask that you tell us why you need any time, why you need time from NASA that, why you need NASA time to do what you could not do with your institutional allocated time. So yeah, and that's again, in the call for proposals. And if you have further questions, I can talk about that afterwards. Okay, last slide. I'm a little bit past what I wanted to be, but some takeaways. So we are following a new anonymous process starting this semester. The proposals come in on September 16th. We will be following this process from here on out. Please read the call for proposals for complete details. You must use the provided templates for the science program and for the expertise and access document. Again, please read the call for proposals for complete details. Please review the updated proposal submission page and read the call prior to filling it out. And again, I noted this earlier, but the abstract, the strategic relevance, and the code data check all need to be written in an anonymous format. And that's on the submission page. It's not part of the E&A document or your science program, just like normal. These have always been on the submission page. And again, if you're not catching the theme of this, you might need to watch this webinar again. Read the call for proposals for complete details, please. Also, as part of that, read the FAQ page. We have a lot of useful information there also. And if you still have questions, you can ask them now. But also, you can always send us an email to keckcfp@ipac.caltech.edu, and we are happy to answer them for you. We're happier to answer them if they're not the day of the proposal due date, because we get a lot of those too. So, okay, do we have any questions? And at this point,